So every day we get these reports out of training camp. Who's shining? You hear about some of the position battles. Of course, every year it's about the wide receiver. There's always a glut of wide receivers who's going to make the team. But this year in particular, because the position's not established, people are wondering what's going on at quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick's the number one, but a big portion of the fan base fell in love with Taylor Heinicke. And we had him on the show shortly after he had that start in the playoff game against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, and he was excellent on the show. We had him on again.
Yeah,
We've had him on twice.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
And people are really pulling for Taylor Heinicke. However, at least right now, at best, it's been an uneven training camp for Taylor Heinicke. We talked about him going to the podium and saying that he's struggling to throw to the left side. But yesterday, I think it was Matthew Paris, who's one of the beat reporters who's out at training camp all the time, said that he had a couple of balls, which should have been picks, which he threw right to defenders. What do you make of the Heinicke struggles? If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. You can call us in the Gambit DC listener lines, brought to you by the DC Lottery. Bet, play, win with Gambit DC. Do you chalk it up as it's training camp, doesn't mean anything, let's see what happens in the preseason games? Or are you coming around to Jason's side, which is he's Taylor Heinicke.
Yeah,
he's a backup.
You know
he's lucky to be in the league.
I'm pretty much in that camp because, look, we're talking about, at the end of the day, an undrafted free agent who's been a journeyman. He's bounced around in NFL training camps and had short stints with teams. He was a reserve for the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL in 2020. Okay, this is not a guy with a classic NFL quarterback pedigree.
Correct.
Okay, he's a success story because he signed a deal with the Washington football team. They like him, obviously, but I think his ceiling is that he's going to be a quality backup, and if you need a spot starter for a game or two or three, maybe he can get you through a patch where your starter's either underperforming or injured. I think to expect anything more out of Taylor Heinicke,
you're asking for too much.
Yeah, you're expecting too much.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that there are fans right now, and if you are one of these fans, give us a call, that still want to see Heinicke beat out Fitz?
I think there's a small subset because they can't get the playoff game where he performed very well. They can't get that out of their brains.
Right.
Like that's all they know of Taylor Heinicke, or all that they want to know about him. They want to see him at that elevated status where he's playing at his best.
But I don't think you can gloss over what he accomplished in that game.
Oh, he had a very good game.
So against the Buccaneers, who, by the way, have a really good defense, who shut down really good quarterbacks on their way to winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay, they held Patrick Mahomes in check.
Yep.
They did okay against Aaron Rodgers. Arguably, the guy who had the most success against the Buccaneers during their Super Bowl run was Taylor Heinicke. He was 26 for 44 in that game for 306 yards, had the one touchdown pass, did throw a pick,
ran for a
also
touchdown.
had 46 yards rushing and a touchdown on 6 carries. He just showed grittiness.
He did.
He also showed elusiveness in the pocket. Like, I just remember, he's a smaller guy. They list him at 6'1", but he said he's probably not 6'1".
6'1", 210, which means he's probably 5'11 3/4 and 200 pounds.
He had a really good pocket presence.
Yes, he did.
And that's something that's really hard to I think it's something that's really hard to develop. It's one of those things that I believe you kind of have or you don't. Maybe you can get slightly better at it, but some guys seem to have really good poise in the pocket. Tom Brady, to me, is the best at it. He can just take one little step to the side. Like, he knows when to take just one step to the side, doesn't panic, and bounce out of there quickly. Other guys, they feel somebody who's not even really close to them, and they run out of the pocket, and they're not focused down the field. Heinicke looks like he's focused down the field all the time in that small sample size. In the game before that, he threw for 137 yards and a touchdown, had a quarterback rating of 102 when he filled in. I don't know. I'm kind of on EB's side of this, that he may be a gamer type. Like, you got to see him in the game versus just drills. Now they're running offense, defense. and he's working with the twos. I know you're saying that Trey Lance is working with the twos. Heinicke's working with the twos. I want to see what happens in the preseason games.
Will see.
To make a real determination on him, I just need to see more. I need more volume. I need more sample size. It's impossible to really forecast what he's going to be until I see, and this may be an impossibility. It may never happen. I need 16 regular season games. Well,
that's not going to happen.
That might never happen with him because he might just always be a backup.
It probably will never happen.
So it's a pipe dream.
But the question is he good enough to be knocking on the door that if Fitz struggles early and the team struggles early, my 1-in-3 scenario, Fitz, let's give him 4 touchdowns and 4 picks first 4 weeks. Not horrific, but not great. But they're struggling 1-3.
And then they're 1-3.
If Heinicke's knocking on the door, or maybe even outshining him in training camp, I would think that he might have a chance to replace him early. Now, if he's not shining in training camp, then he's just going to sit on the bench all season.
Right. That gives Fitz even more rope.
I think if Kyle Allen was 100% healthy, Kyle Allen would be the true number 2.
Could be.
Without question. And I chalk a lot of what he did in that game against Tampa up to, and he played well. All right, I'm not taking anything away from how he played in the game, but I'm chalking that up to the Bucs defensive coaches, and they look a lot of film. They just didn't know who he was.
Well, also, remember, there was a chance Alex Smith might start that week.
They just didn't know who he was. They didn't know his strengths and weaknesses. If you put him on film and you really study his skill set, and if they had a couple weeks to study him, I think that they probably would have shut him down.
But he made some throws in that game.
He did, and he was on fire. He was in a zone. There was no pressure on him. He was playing loosey-goosey, and he was awesome. And, of course, the fact that he could run a little bit helps. But I chalk a lot of that up to Tampa defensive staff just didn't know him.
All right, let's go to the phones. 800-636-1067. You can call us on the Gambit DC listener lines. What do you make of this? Look, it's very early in camp. They just got into pads. But early word is that Heinicke certainly hasn't been outshining Fitz, and he would have had to do that. To win the job, he would have had to lap the field.
Well, it's just not going to happen because Fitz is the starter, and he's clearly the backup. No matter what Ron says about an open competition, Fitz is your number 1 unless he struggles mightily in training camp and in the preseason games.
Right? There's no way Fitz is going to struggle mightily in training camp.
You wouldn't think.
He's been in too many of them.
Right. Let's go to Anthony in D.C. Anthony, you're on with the Junks. Good morning.
Yes, sir. How you guys doing? I listen to you guys every day.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for calling, Anthony.
Appreciate that.
What's up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So for Heinicke, I believe it's training camp now. He's a quality backup. Fitz is the starter, no doubt. But, I mean, training camp, I feel like you can take that with a grain of salt. I mean, it's training camp. That's what it's for. You're supposed to struggle. If you're not struggling, you're not learning. You know what I mean? So I feel like he is a gamer where put him in game time situations, he'll probably perform. That's
so how much rope, let's just assume Fitzpatrick is the starter. How much rope do you give him if they struggle? Or do you want Heinicke to have a shot to start in game 1?
I would give Fitz the whole season. I mean, I'm going to say 10 games because in Scott Turner's offense, it's quarterback friendly. So I don't see Fitz struggling that bad. You know what I mean? So.
All right. Thanks for the call, bud.
I see no scenario where Fitz doesn't start week 1, barring injury.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It is not going to happen.
Correct. Anybody who thinks otherwise, you're just delusional.
Yeah, you're
just not going to see.
You've had a break with reality.
And now, if you do see Fitz struggle in that first month and they're 1-3, okay, that's a different story. I still put Kyle Allen in the mix, but you're not going to see Fitz outshined by Taylor in week 1. You're just not going to see it.
I would be stunned if that happened.
You're just not going to see it. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's like seeing Bigfoot.
Correct.
It's like seeing Haley's Comet. You're not supposed to see it.
It's like winning the Powerball. Right. This is not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
You're not going to win the Powerball this week. You're not going to see Heinicke beat out Fitz.
Let's go to Drew in D.C. What's up, Drew? You're on with the Junks. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? What's happening?
What's up, bro?
I'm kind of like I might contradict myself when I say this because I see the Skins really going 12-5, but yet I don't see Heinicke starting. I see Fitz starting because he understands his role. So everybody knows it's his job to lose. he's basically already the starter. But the reason why I say I'm pulling for Heinicke, these guys, they know this offense. So I think as far as him throwing like the interceptions and stuff like that, I think it's about them being on the same page because they really don't have a full squad, working with a full squad yet. Man, he knows the offense. I think it's all about timing. And he's perfect for what the game is now. The game is for a mobile quarterback. So I see him, being in by game 4 or 5. Yeah.
So all right, hold on. So Drew thinks that they will go 12-5 and Heinicke will be in by week 4 or 5.
I believe that's what he's going with.
So he's going to play 13 weeks and they're still going to go 12-5.
Apparently he's a big Heinicke guy.
Yeah. Okay.
He's very bullish on that Taylor Heinicke.
Hey, look, I asked listeners, I said,
did?
if you really feel Heinicke's the guy, call us.
Well, that would be quite the window of opportunity for Taylor Heinicke.